Every election season, we start to see them pop up. Political signs are all over Spokane, alongside roads and yards and on billboards. But what does the law say about where you can and cannot display them where you live? Let's verify. The question comes from KREM2 viewer Douglas, who asks, are private-owned community apartment tenants allowed to display political flags, signs, etc. from balconies and windows? To verify this question, we turn to Jeremiah Chin, an associate professor of law at Seattle University and Washington State Law. RCW 643834 states, the governing documents may not prohibit the outdoor display of political yard signs by an owner or resident on the owner's or resident's property before any primary or general election. However, it continues, the governing documents may include reasonable rules and regulations regarding the placement and manner of display of political yard signs. Professor Chin adds some clarity.
Generally speaking, if I'm renting an apartment, what does the law state about whether I can display a political sign, let's say, on my balcony?
So displaying a sign for, personal, especially political reasons is usually covered by a couple of things. It could either run into a leasing agreement with your tenant or landlord or a municipal ordinance, like your city has rules and regulations about signs.
Professor Chin says a tenant's ability to display signs depends on a few factors. If your landlord is a private party, and if such signs are specifically allowed or prohibited in your lease agreement. If signs are not mentioned, Chin says you probably are okay to display them within reason.
If your rental agreement doesn't say otherwise, there would be no real problem with it unless you're trying to put together like a 10-foot tall neon billboard on your balcony window. And then you're more worried about things like nuisance or something like that.
If your landlord is the government, Chin says, the First Amendment comes into play, placing fewer restrictions on tenants.
It would probably give you more protections to live in government subsidized housing, because now if the government is your landlord, they have to follow the First Amendment more clearly than a private party like, just a regular person renting to you.
So we can verify if your landlord is a private party and your lease agreement does not specifically prohibit the display of political signs, you are generally okay to display them within reason. If your landlord is the government, you have more protections to display your sign.